If you're in your early 60s and most of your retirement money is going to be in a traditional 401k or a traditional IRA, you're not alone. And you've probably done everything right. You worked hard, you saved consistently, you took that big tax deduction up front, and you built your wealth. But here's the problem that people don't realize until it's too late. And a lot of you might be running into this already. A big pre-tax retirement account can turn into a big tax problem later on. So today I want to walk you through one of the more common scenarios that I see, which is someone nearing retirement with a large pre-tax 401k or pre-tax retirement account, and tax minimization is now going to be top of mind. I'll break down what's actually happening, where the tax traps are, and what you can do about it. So why does this matter? Well, most people think that in retirement, it'll automatically lower their taxes. And sometimes this can be the case, but a lot of the times taxes, they might not be hitting right now, but they'll shift around and they'll sometimes hit later. The reason is simple. With a pre-tax retirement account, you didn't pay taxes on the way in, but now you have to pay them on the way out. And the IRS is going to eventually start forcing you to take money out of those accounts, whether you like it or not. And those are called RMDs, or your required minimum distributions. And they'll generally start around the age 73 based off of today's rules. Let's simplify this a little bit further. You basically have three buckets when it comes to your retirement money. And hopefully most of you have already heard this, but bucket number one is going to be your pre-tax money. So any traditional IRA, traditional 401k, that's bucket one. Bucket two is your tax-free bucket. This is your Roth IRA or Roth 401k. And then bucket number three is going to be your after-tax money, so any brokerage or investment accounts that you have. If most of your money is in bucket number one, then that's okay. It just means that your retirement income is going to be highly taxable unless you plan around it. And so I want you to think of it like this. Your account isn't your spending power, right? Your after-tax income is. Here's the framework that I want you to remember. And just like the three buckets, there are three phases with retirement taxes. Phase number one is the gap years. So this is the time of early retirement when you're not receiving your Social Security yet and RMDs haven't kicked in. So this is the perfect opportunity to start tax planning beginning in retirement, mainly because you're not receiving that extra income yet. What are some ways to help minimize my taxes that I'll be making or paying later on? So this is the point where you start looking at Roth conversions, start looking at maybe pulling money out of investment accounts or what have you. Start playing with the three buckets so that way you're not necessarily being forced to pull a lot in RMDs. Okay, so moving from tax bucket number one and moving that to number two or number three. Setting plans and a framework is crucial during this first part of retirement. Phase two is called the tax bump, and this is when your income starts to slowly stack in on itself. So you have any withdrawals that you're making from your retirement plans, and now Social Security is kicked in, so you have that much more income, and plus any other income that you're pulling in your retirement plan. So if you have dividends, any interest coming in, if you have a rental property and you have money coming in from there, everything starts to stack in on itself. And then you're kind of asking yourself the question, why am I paying so much in taxes in retirement? Lastly, the third phase is the RMD years. And this is the point where the IRS is going to start forcing you to make distributions from your pre-tax accounts, which in turn can bump you into the higher tax bracket. If you don't plan for RMDs, you're basically handing the IRS the steering wheel and allowing it to drive you through retirement. That's not what we want. We want you to have the power when it comes to your own retirement plan. So you need to plan accordingly. And a lot of the times your RMDs are going to keep on increasing if you don't do anything. The reason is, if you have your retirement account and it's at a certain balance, if it keeps on increasing, say, you're invested, not necessarily aggressively, but you're getting a good rate of return, hopefully your account goes up every single year. That's what we hope for, even if you're making withdrawals, even if the RMDs are coming in, right? But it's also based off of your lifespan. So based off of, how long the IRS thinks that you'll live, right? So there is an average. And so as you're getting older, that divisor, that number that they're, have the equation on is getting lower. Okay, so if I'm at 73, my divisor is going to be 26 and a half. And if I get older, 74, it's 24 or 25 and a half, so on and so forth. So it's going to keep on going down. So if my account is getting higher and my divisor is getting lower, then my RMD is going to continue to increase, which gives me a higher chance to get into that upper tax bracket or the one right above me, okay? We want to avoid that. We want to pay less taxes in retirement. Another surprise for people is Social Security. Yes, Social Security can be taxed. So if you make a certain amount, you have the possibility for 85% of your benefit to be taxed. Okay. Not always the case. If you have low income in retirement, then there's a good chance that none of it will be taxed. But if you're over a certain limit, you can have 50% of your benefit taxed or 85% of it taxed. This matters because if you have a large 401k, you're most likely pulling taxable income from it. And now you've turned Social Security into a taxable benefit too. Social Security isn't going to be taxed just because you're rich. It can be taxed because you've started stacking your income and now your benefit's going to be taxed. The goal is not lowest taxes this year. Okay? That's where a lot of people get tripped up on is, I want to pay the least amount of taxes so that way I don't have to worry about it. I hate seeing money leave my bank account, which is fine. But at the end of the day, when you do that, you might be saving that taxable burden or that spike later on. So the best thing that you can do is smooth it out, right? Maybe I don't pay as little amount of taxes as I can this year, but I pay a little bit now, a little bit next year, so on and so forth. So that way it's even. Okay, you don't necessarily want to leave a huge spike for later on in retirement, or you don't want to leave that to your heirs either, because any money that you don't pay or any taxes that you don't pay is just going to be left up to the heirs. Okay, and they might be in a higher tax bracket, so that way, or for that matter, they might be paying more taxes than you could right now. Now let's talk about what people actually do to improve this situation. And I'm not going to sit here and talk about 20 different things that you can do because I could be here all day. This is fun for me. But I know that you came here for a little bit of knowledge, so I'm going to give you the top 5 biggest ones that I can give you. Strategy number 1 is the most common that we see and the most common that I deal with. It's Roth conversions. And if you've already watched my other episodes on Roth conversions, great. Here's a little refresher. So Roth conversion is taking money out of your pre-tax account, so out of your traditional 401k, traditional IRA, and moving it to the second bucket, which is your Roth account, your after-tax account. All right, so you're paying taxes on it up front and moving it into a after-tax bucket where you don't have to pay taxes on it again. Roth conversions aren't automatically good or bad, they're just a tool. The whole point of it is to reduce your taxable events and to set a plan, okay? So you're taking your retirement plan into your own hands again, taking it out of the IRS, and you're reducing your pre-tax account bucket. So the point of that is to reduce RMDs later, hopefully mitigating your taxes. So if your RMDs keep coming up and you keep going into a higher tax bracket, this is a way to avoid that. Take money out of the pre-tax, put it into the after-tax. Doing too much in one year can backfire, right? Because if you do too much, then maybe you bump yourself into not just the next tax bracket, but the one above that. But also, doing nothing in 10 years can backfire because now you don't have a plan. Now you're just planning to survive instead of planning for the future. So it just helps to be intentional with what you're doing. Strategy number 2 is don't let RMDs surprise you, okay? Pretty basic, I know, but if you have a large pre-tax account and you're just waiting until 73 to, not doing anything to plan, then RMDs are probably going to hit you like a truck, right? If you're not expecting it, it's like, oh, crap, I have to pull this amount out. I didn't know that. And so now it's like you're surviving. You're planning to survive. You haven't planned for anything. Whereas if you opened up, maybe an investment account so you have RMDs going into there, you're playing with investments, maybe you gift some, try to mitigate those taxes as much. But it's a lot harder to do that if you wait until age 73 to make a plan. It's so helpful to already know what you're going to do and hit the ground running. Strategy number 3 is withdraw from the right bucket at the right time. And this is a mistake that I see retirees make all the time, withdrawing from the wrong buckets. The order does matter. Sometimes people withdraw from their pre-tax way too early, which then pushes them into a higher tax bracket, and other times they avoid it all entirely, which then creates an RMD nightmare, which we can avoid. What you're usually looking for is a coordinated approach that keeps taxes predictable and avoids spikes later on, okay? This is a common focus that we have in retirement income tax planning discussions. Taxes don't punish retirees, although I know it feels like they do. They punish unplanned withdrawals. Strategy number 4 is plan Social Security with taxes in mind, okay? Social Security isn't about when I can get my biggest check. It's about having a plan. Most of the time, what we see is, people want to wait until 67 or 70 because that's when they get paid the most. But, if their plan says, hey, you should take it now because it's going to help you later on, then maybe we take it at age 62 or 65, whatever it is. A lot of times I get just a general question, hey, when's the best time to take a Social Security check or start that Social Security payment? And, I tell them all the time, like, I can't tell you without knowing exactly what you have and what your plan is. Now, if you were to come into my office and we develop a plan and I see, actually it would benefit you more to wait until 67, or it would benefit you more to start taking it now at 62, then at least we have a plan set forth and you know exactly what your understanding is. So it just helps to go through all this information before you get to Social Security. So that way, again, you're not planning to survive. You're planning for the future. You have a plan set. Lastly, strategy number 5 is charitable planning can help. So if you're charitably inclined, there are strategies you can use to reduce your taxes, especially later in retirement years. Okay, so if you've already used the first 4 strategies to help reduce your taxes, but you're still in a higher tax bracket and you're wishing to get into that lower one, like you're super close, then donating to a charity can absolutely help you do that. Okay, it's not something that I'm going to get into super deep in this video because it's different for everybody, but just know that that is a strategy that you can use to help reduce your taxes. So just a quick example. Say you're 63, your household income right now is 60%. Okay, so between you and your spouse, you're bringing in 60% a year. That puts you in the 12% tax bracket. So you've got about $40,000 left until you go into the 22% tax bracket. So during that year, you're not taking Social Security yet. You don't have RMDs. So you say to yourself, hey, in order to help myself reduce taxes later on, maybe I take a step and I say, hey, let me take this $40,000 that I have left before I go into the next tax bracket, and I move that into either bucket number 2, do a Roth conversion, or bucket number 3, take that withdrawal and then, pay taxes on it and invest it. Okay, so there are 2 methods that you can go about doing that to help reduce your taxes later on. That's why the most important tax planning window is the years before Social Security and RMDs begin, because that's when planning is so much more effective. Again, you want to plan for the future and not plan for survival. So don't wait until it's too late, Social Security's coming through, oh shoot, taxes went up, or RMDs go through, right? Taxes go up again, right? You want to have those plans made during that planning window. So what should you do if you fall in the planning stage? Here's a checklist that I would focus on. Number 1 is know how much of your retirement income is going to be pre-tax, after-tax, and tax-free. Number 2 is estimate how much your income will be with RMDs. 3, decide whether a Roth conversion strategy makes sense and how much. 4, coordinate withdrawals and Social Security timing. And 5, build a plan that smooths income instead of spiking it. If you're 60 to 65 and most of your money is in that pre-tax retirement account, just know you're not behind. You're actually in the best window to plan. The people who get crushed by taxes later aren't the people who saved too much. They're the people who saved well, but never built a tax strategy behind it. If you want help building a plan around your accounts, your retirement timeline, and your tax picture, you can click the link below and schedule a conversation with me. No pressure, just clarity. And I'll leave you with one last thing. The best retirement tax plan is the one you start before you need it. Thank you for coming to this episode of Tommy 2 Cents. I'm Tommy Warner. Take it easy.